Hi, I'm Greg Fussell with Caldwell Banker, and I'm sitting here today with Anthony Young, that is an appraiser that has a wealth of knowledge. What I want to do today is first thank you for coming and talking to us.
Thank you for having me, Greg.
I heard you speaking a little bit earlier, and I thought it was very impressive. So not to put any pressure on you, but we're going to replicate that here today again. But your knowledge of the appraisal and how it's done and how you go about it is really incredible. My impression of an appraiser, and I'll just tell you because I worked in the banking industry for a long time, in the mortgage part, or consumer lending part, and I dealt with a lot of appraisers. I would go out to meet the appraiser. I would take comps with me. I don't know if you guys really like to receive those or not, or if it's a waste of our time, but we feel obligated to give them to you. We've been taught to do that for so many years. Some of the appraisers would actually take them and thank me for them.
Right.
Probably trashed them, I don't know.
Okay.
But others would not. Others didn't even want me to walk in the house or open a door. They just went in there, and they were in and out in 10 minutes and done. And wouldn't talk to me about it.
Right.
So tell me about appraisers, and maybe I want to know how the consumer should approach this, because it's their house that's being appraised.
Right.
But also how should I approach it, because I don't want to tick them off, kind of thing. But I want to be fair to everyone. So, and I know that's a broad question.
It's a broad question.
But if you could kind of help me with that a little bit.
I mean, first, it's like, how I've talked about before. It's like, on both sides of all industries, right? You have good agents, you have bad agents.
Right.
We have great appraisers, and we have some that should probably go back to color coordinating the salad bar at Chuck E. Cheese, right?
Okay.
And that's on both sides. There's professionals. That's in every industry. And for me, it's like, if we look at both you and I, we have one job, and that is to protect the consumer, public trust.
Absolutely.
So when I tell people in my speeches, in my classes, I care more about protecting the consumer than I care about protecting someone's feelings. Okay. So let's zoom into where we talk about bringing comps. Now that's incredible to do, but can we be super raw today?
Sure.
Can we just
Absolutely.
be unfiltered? Okay.
Absolutely.
It's a waste of paper and time if you do not expand the appraiser's knowledge of that property. We have the same exact information you do, and we look at it from a deeper side in most cases, right? It's just the analytics versus the marketing side, right? And it's not that we look at things, you guys can feel something that we have to prove, right? And so when you're giving an appraiser comps, write notes on those comps. Because like the book says, you can't, once you expand the mind, it can't go back, right? And so what we do there is I tell, tell my clients, tell the appraiser that on that side of the street there's foundation issues, and this side of the street, it's this school district.
Right.
Give them those different details, because while we're appraisers and we have geographic competency, we don't know all the ins and outs of properties. Just like for you, homes, you've been doing this for decades, right? But to know a house truly is you have to sit in the house when it's quiet and you hear the creaking and you plug in the iron and you see the light flicker. Give the appraiser details that they can actually use, and they either have to go back to their office and qualify them or disqualify them. And another thing is for especially on the real estate side, don't leave out the low comps. Explain them out. Okay. Why that? If that comp's so low, explain. It was a transfer between the parents had died and the kids just wanted to dispose of the property, or hey, that property over there, and the homeowner will know this. That property over there. They had tenants in there, they wouldn't take staging, the buyer had to buy it sight unseen, so that the appraiser knows not to use that comp. But here, more importantly, if the appraiser ignores that information, you now have ammunition to say, no, I provided it to him.
Right.
So I know you don't want to bother the appraiser, and the appraisers in my industry that are amazing appraisers, they're not bothered by information. Information helps everything, right? But what you can do there is, I tell my clients, give it to them, or leave it on the counter, email it to them, and text it to them. Our phones get PDFs now.
Okay.
So at the end of the day, that they receive the information, and what they do with it, that's between them and them.
Right.
But when the results come out and they're not favorable, and you're not just being subjective, they just got it wrong, you're like, no, I told them things that move money or move value.
And I agree with you on that, and justifying why this is that way, because we had a listing several years ago that was actually in Santa Clara address, but it had Cupertino school districts.
Yep.
And the funny part about it, the boundary line was the road. So this house that we were selling, this was years ago, it was worth $100,000 more than the house across the street. You know, and you get, you know, we had to explain that because an appraiser come out there, he didn't particularly pay attention to all the school districts as close as what we did on this particular house.
Right.
So we could justify our value that way.
And that's definitely important.
Right.
And to show the appraiser consistency in that movement, that this isn't just an outlier, this isn't just one house that sold $100,000 or whatever. Show me a 5-year trend that statistically on that side of the house they're selling at. It's given that all things are this controlled data, right? It's all, you know, same houses. Consistently for the last 5 years, that side of the street sold for 7% higher than this side of the street.
Right.
And give them that data, and that's where one of my biggest things over 2023, and I'm going to be pushing hard into 2024, is facts over feelings.
Yeah.
Because the secondary market in Fannie Mae, there's a bunch of litigation coming down. Why? Because people are like, no one cares, and it's so funny. Where as an appraiser, they say, we don't want your opinion on this. When we say it's proximate, we can't say proximate anymore because that's, you know, that's relative. We can't say this, we can't say that. And they're like, we don't want your opinion. But at the end of the report, it says, what does it say, Greg?
Your opinion.
Your opinion of value.
Yes.
So when it comes to both sides of our industry, it no longer matters that I've been doing this for over 2 decades or you've been doing this over 2 decades. It's about what can we show and support with that data. I mean, support that change. It's no, you know, so that's the biggest thing is supporting that.
When you're going through your appraisal and things move quickly around here, I mean, they can turn on a dime from week to week, almost day to day.
Yes.
How long does it take for an appraiser to catch? Say values are escalating like they were at one time a few years ago. How long does it take for the appraisal and the appraiser to catch up and reflect those values accurately?
We can accurately do it today.
Okay.
It's real-time analytics if we focus on a couple important key areas. And that is, what is the list price to sales price ratio in that market? Second thing, calling and verifying as many pending sales as possible. Hey, what in some agents, again, they don't want to share that information. It's a business decision. If you only have one offer in hand, it makes sense. You don't want to share it. I wouldn't either. But if you've got 10 suitors for that property, the real estate agent should share that information so that everybody, the appraisers especially, know, hey, you know what? We had 17 offers and all of them were 12% over list. That gives me a piece of information right there. And then if we make the time adjustments on the comparable properties, which is required by Fannie Mae, saying, what does that mean? That means if a comp sold, like the market, if we look at a stock market graph, you know, today Apple might be here and then tomorrow might be here. Well, if we have one comp that's sold here and one comp that's sold here, right, we have to adjust the comparables all as if they sold today. And if you do that correctly and you apply the list price to sales price, what a property is listed for versus what they receive in the market, you can get pretty dang close. Yeah. Because you're looking at, hey, again, it's still a linear thing, right? In a lot of cases, but you're still saying, hey, you know what? 74 people bought in this zip code in the last 45 days, and majority of them all paid 12% over list.
Yeah, and I know David also does. You and I, you talked to David earlier, and I know David does the comps with the percentages on the side.
Extremely important.
I do those as well because I agree with you because you're looking at neighborhoods and you're looking for trends in those neighborhoods. You can't go in there and you see, you know, all these houses are selling boom, 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 but they're paying over. We know that. Unless you have a specific house or someone, if it's overpriced too much, you know, it's not going to happen that way. But I always look, you know, even before our CMA would do that, I would come back and do one just manually and put in the percentage over in that because I thought it was in Redwood City, we had a client. This was several years ago, and the market was outrunning us, and we had lost out on a few. So I started looking at that and say, look, this is what percentage everything is going over now. So we need to incorporate that into our offer.
Yep, and we jump higher from the beginning of the summer towards the end of the summer. We see it all the time.
Yes. So yes, I agree with that. It's just, I think the technology that you have now really helps you guys do that, and you come up with a much more accurate appraisal.
Yeah, I mean, but I think it's all parts, right? Again, add as much factual, non-subjective data, right, that you can. And you provide, hey, this is what this is doing. I called these agents, here's their phone numbers. They're going to close on, you know, whatever month, in 4 days. This one's going to close in this many days. This one, you know, as much information. I know it's our job to do our job, but at the end of the day, there's hundreds of thousands of dollars on the line.
Yes.
And your outcome is directly based
Absolutely.
Your income is based on the outcome.
Right.
The consumer's net sheet is
Yep.
based on that information. So just doing a little bit more research to provide, and again, that appraiser now has to go back and qualify or disqualify or say, expand. Great, I love this information that you provided me. And here's the thing, but let me show you, this is the one variable, but that you might have considered, you might not. And I'll have that conversation with you, but more information is better.
Okay. I know when you're looking at things, I'm sure that there's things when you go out are a little bit of a red flag to you. If you could elaborate a little bit on that. And I know that that question has thousands of answers, just what you feel. And part of that too, what do you think about swimming pools?
Swimming pools. Well, like what I tell consumers, like, you don't pay me to think, you pay me to get it right.
Okay.
But if we look at pools, the biggest key thing that we say there is, like, I tell, like, my team is say, hey, you know what? And agents too.
Yeah.
If you're looking at, like, hey, well, how much is this pool worth? I'm like, well, look from an aerial view, okay, of that neighborhood. If only one guy has a pool, no one cares about a pool.
Right.
They just bring cookies and beer to the guy who has the pool.
Yeah.
Right? But nobody cares. If we're looking at lot sizes that are really small, if we're sub 5,000 square feet, do we want the pool or do we want to fill in the pool? Do we have a front yard? There are so many variables to look at. Say, if we have no real front yard, we're on a feeder street, we got a pool in the backyard, my kid can't ride the tricycle without falling in the pool. Do we
You
love
can't
the
walk
pool?
out the step without falling in the pool.
Do we love the pool?
Yeah.
So the pool is, and that again, that trend shifts too. As the market shifts, we always have to listen to the data. But if 70% of people have pools, then pools have more value on there. But if no one has a pool, the pool doesn't have any value. And so another thing is also too is knowing and understanding what the consumer is doing in that marketplace.
Sure.
And I've had clients where they put the Vegas, they put a $500,000 water slide to the hill and into the pool and all the things, and they have the Vegas resort pool. Awesome. There's no return on investment on that one.
Yeah.
Because nobody's coming in or walking away from that house because it has that or doesn't have that.
Right.
So with any upgrade, with any improvement, dance around the market. You dance too high on the market, then it's you're doing it because that's the way that you want to live.
You're absolutely correct about looking at the neighborhood. We had bought a house, and it was a brand new construction on a large lot. Subdivision, there was only be like 62 homes in it, and it was an exclusive area. This was in Florida when I lived there. And I noticed that all my neighbors were having pools put in. So what did I do? I put a pool in to keep up with the neighbors because I knew that when I went to sell it, everyone else has a pool. If I don't have one, I'm not going to sell my house as fast.
Right.
I sold it in a week.
And that's what to look at and pay attention to. What do the masses want? When we're picking paint colors, one of these examples you use in one of my speeches, like, okay, if you have an S-Class Mercedes, are you going to put crazy rims on it and do all things to the windows? No, because you just lost the audience.
Yeah, absolutely.
for the buyer. And so that's the same thing with the house, right? I love when people are creative, and a lot of people have a much better vision when it comes to color schemes and all things, but make sure that you are on par with the market, or you're prepared to neutralize that home when you take it to market.
Okay.
If you get a little too creative.
When you walk into a house, I have some clients that the house is vacant actually when they go in, which is great. Appraiser gets to see everything.
Right.
I have some that their house is immaculate. You have to take your shoes off and walk with socks on and all this other stuff, which is great because it's really clean. You can still see everything. But there again, then I have some that are in the middle of moving and the house is a wreck. Does that bother you as an appraiser, or how do you look at it?
Not at all, and it shouldn't, right? Any appraiser with experience, we see the house as if it's vacant, ready to go to market. So again, I have some people, and I'll have my assistant, talk to the consumer. Let's do the appointment in 2 weeks, and it's like, okay, well, may I ask why you want to push it out? I know we were on a timeline. Oh, I want to clean the house. Don't worry about that.
Right.
We don't see that watering down the driveway. We're not here to buy the house. We're here to see how it competes in the marketplace, right? I'm looking at who's like that property, who's the same size as that property, and what are the consumer willing to pay for that size house in that market. We don't care about the other things on there. So, yes, with anything, right? Yeah. If I come in here with a wrinkled suit, completely wrinkled up, you're going to have one quick judgment, but then we sit down and have a conversation. You're like, maybe the steamer broke.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
But same thing with the house.
It's a first impression.
First impression,
Yeah.
but it shouldn't show up in the results.
Right.
The results are data driven, and it's just like I put out on my platforms yesterday. The home might not appeal to you.
Right.
That doesn't matter. What does the data show of the consumer that's buying the property?
Good. Well, that's good to know, because I have clients that, they're worried about their appraisal going because this is not this way or this is not perfect, and it's kind of like telling they look at the house for itself. They don't look at it for what's in it.
Yes, we don't agree with those things. But
Yeah.
if I could expand on that real quick too. Now, the time that it does matter that I don't walk in here with a wrinkled suit is if we have a lot of hybrid appraisals coming through now. After the pandemic, it pushed into a lot of different products where it's acceptable now to do a no-site visit appraisal and all these other things where the consumer or the professional sends us the photos. If you are if you're for a refinance or purchase going to have an exterior only drive-by, go spend the money.
It needs to look sharp.
Make sure the front yard, because I'm judging everything. I'm looking, okay, what do the eaves look like on the house? How is the yard taken care of? How is that, those things. Now it's an exterior. Now we are judging the book by its cover if we have nothing else to go off of.
Right.
So that's the time you say, hey, you know what, let me put my best foot forward. Because if I come here in a wrinkled suit, but I can't talk, you're going to make a judgment based on that.
I'm glad you brought up eaves. I go into houses all the time, and we find them in all different shapes when we're listing them. We find some that are brand new and some that are immaculate, that are, 70, 80 years old. And then we see some that have deferred maintenance.
Right.
And typically where you see that are going to be the eaves when you walk out there. So when you're walking into a house and you're appraising, you're going to notice that, and you're going to note that.
Yeah. Yes and no. But
Okay.
Is there more to that question?
Well, what I'm looking at, because I know on certain types of loans, FHA, if you look at that, they're going to say pest or dry rot.
Yes.
So we're going to have to deal with that. So and I understand that, but how do you look at it, and how do you feel like the lender is going to react to what you put on there?
Well, again,
and I know that's
as
a
you said,
tougher question.
Yeah, it's a tougher question because I'm not going to make a decision. I can't make a decision for how the lender's going to respond, the underwriter's going to respond, right? But we will say when we are FHA, we do need to make sure things are up to par.
Yes.
Dry rot. Again, safety and health, both conventional and FHA and VA are all the same. Safety and health hazards. And that's where I always go to the rule of thumb. If a 5-year-old can get hurt, it's an issue you should take care of, right? So, the eaves. Now, if it's conventional loan, I don't care what the eaves look like, because one, I'm not a home inspector, but I'm also looking and say, okay, the eaves are cracked here, this is here, okay, so now this is in this condition bucket.
Right.
So when I go find properties that directly compete with that property, and I'm doing my exterior drive-by of those properties, I'm going to be zooming in on my camera because I'm getting a little older, my eyes aren't as good, I've been staring at screens for too long. And I'm going to look, okay, well, they've got the same level of deferred maintenance. It might not be exact, but we know we've got X amount over here for the subject, and X amount, okay, they're cousins. We can do that. Yes.
You have a comp.
But for me, it doesn't matter that I could walk into the house, all the windows could be broken, the carpet could be torn up, the cabinets could be falling off the thing. Great, awesome. Now I know what I'm looking for in a comparable.
Okay.
So it doesn't matter. You set the bar, and we move from there to compete with that.
Okay. You seem to enjoy your job.
Yes, I do.
Very much. What would you like to tell, hopefully, the people that are watching this about you? I mean, I think it's nice to find out a little bit about the person on that. So if you wouldn't mind just sharing a little bit.
A little about me. I mean, right, if we're talking personal, we talk professional.
A little both.
A little both. For me, it's professionally, I've just been on a push to raise this level of awareness around valuation. I feel that 99% of real estate professionals do not truly know how to comprehend the report. They can read it,
right,
but they can't comprehend it. And if we're just being unfiltered, most people don't care as long as the number's there.
As long as I agree with you 100%. As long as that number comes in.
Yes, as long as that number. But when it doesn't, my goal is for you to understand, and that's why I'm putting out so many tutorials. Yeah. When you have a property that's backed up to this freeway, what do you do? If you have this condition, what do you do? What are condition ratings inside the report, Greg? Most people don't know what that is, and that's the number 2 reason why we do a lot of rebuttal assistance for agents and loan officers, and that's the number 2 reason on why values do not come in or are not there, because the appraiser miscategorized
Right.
the house, and it's black and white now. After the last recession, they wanted
Yeah.
to mine our data, because that's where we get the appraisal waivers from now, right? And I love them. Hey, you know what? There's simple properties that you don't need an appraisal on.
Yeah.
It's a neighborhood of 2,000 homes. They're all the same similar model. A computer can do it, right? Now, when we get to, who had appraisers before, everybody said one property was average. Another guy says that property's average good. Another guy says that property is good superior.
Right.
They couldn't run analytics on that. But how that helps you yourself as professional and also the consumer is that now it's written in black and white which property goes into which box. Okay. And so that's been my biggest thing. That's been my every day. I'm pretty much obsessed about it.
Yeah.
to try to educate the market, consumer and professional on how pricing is, how appraisal works.
Well, I agree. In the real estate business in general, the more you can educate a client or just anyone out there about how this works through the agent, the listing, the lending, the appraiser, the escrow, the title. And that's what David and I are trying to do now, is with these videos that we do, is to show what people have to go through and what you need to know, and what you're going to experience. But I think you trying to do that is phenomenal.
It helps.
It helps everyone.
It helps set the expectations so you
Yes.
don't have to manage the emotions, and that's the biggest thing. And that's where, for so long in real estate, they're like, tech is going to take over. Tech. It's like, I just sold a property in San Ramon, and you know what? I've been in the business forever. We see millions every single day. It's still an emotional situation.
It is.
So
It's emotional for the agent and the client.
Yeah.
We're both emotional on it.
Everybody's
you get
invested.
tied into it.
You get tied into it, and that's why technology. I mean, my youngest daughter at some point may be able to play a video game and buy a house and be done, but it's not happening for a long time. And I love that you guys are taking that time to educate the consumer on the steps, because even me being in the profession, there's some stuff my agent points out, I'm like, oh. And which helped me because my parents are selling their house and moving to Arizona.
Right.
And it's like, oh, wait, no, Mom. They want to remove the real estate agent out of it? No. Did I need a real estate agent? No, I have my own super key, I have my own access.
Yeah.
But what I don't understand is the legal part of it.
Right.
And that's worth 10 times the commission on what could happen,
You're correct, because for sale by owner type deals, if we go in and we're writing an offer on that, the person generally doesn't know what all the forms are that we're sending them. And when they go back through it, we are taking on the responsibility at that point of furnishing all the forms and making sure they're done correctly, which is not the way this is supposed to be. And then as far as negotiations, that's different as well.
Yeah.
It's much different. Agents take care of a lot of things people don't know go on, really.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of stuff that happens behind the scenes.
Right.
I think real estate agents should talk more about that. But like I told my assistant today, where we were working through, I was on the way here, and we had a situation where we have a manufactured home sitting on 2 acres, and she had done her part, and then she's like, okay, well, it's almost wrapped up, but I'm trying to figure this.
Right.
I'm like, well, tell me the problems that you're having with the file. Not problems in a bad way, but appraisal is to find the problem, and we have to answer it. And there were things that she didn't even see. Like, oh, well, we have to compare this and this. I said, look, I will always tell you, you don't know what you don't know, and it's only easy if you don't know what you're doing.
Yes.
So when people look at commissions, they look at our pay or different things like that, it's like, it's really easy if you don't know what you're doing, but the more you know, the more you're scared on every transaction to make sure you get it right. You don't get average. This isn't a baseball career. This is one at bat.
Well, Anthony, how can people get in touch with you?
On all my platforms, you can search Valued Audit, VALUED AUDIT, valuedaudit.com, or Anthony Young Real Estate. You can find me. My phone number is 925-999-0144. But pretty much on all platforms, you can find me.
Okay. So. And I'm sure that we'd all love people to go to YouTube channel and like and subscribe. So if you could do that. But thank you so much for being here today.
Great. Thank you for having me.
You had a wealth of information. And I do hope we get to talk to you again soon.
So I would love it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
I appreciate you. Thank you.